All right, welcome into the FNIA podcast. As always, we are presented by Lowe's. And Coach, we got to send a little congratulations to our guy Hot Rod, who is on a plane right now. And where is he going, Coach? What's he got going on this week?
He's going to LA. The Chargers played Thursday night, and he is going to be inducted into their Hall of Fame. Special ceremony, so well deserved. And we're going to miss him on the podcast, but if it's to go in the Hall of Fame, we can make up for it.
Yeah, that's an excused absence. We'll allow that.
Right.
And we're going to get a little clip too of his speech. He's got a speech to do, so we'll get that, and we'll maybe roll that in to start the show coming up next week.
That's right.
Let's go highs and lows here, Coach. Week 7, the highs and lows of the NFL. And I think the high has to be the Indianapolis Colts. Where else can we start? What has been the best part, the most impressive part watching the Colts play this year to you?
Well, I'll tell you, the unity and the sense of purpose. I was up there for the opening weekend of the season, and it was all about, hey, let's do this for Jim Irsay. We know he would want us to have a good year. And you could see everybody was on board. But I never expected this type of start. They're playing red hot football. And I really have to credit 3 things, Jack. Their offensive line, which doesn't get a lot of credit. Shane Steichen and his play calling and how he's utilizing everybody. And then Daniel Jones, just being the point guard, being mobile, making plays. And it's a tribute to Coach Steichen. They are very, very balanced. So far this year, 196 runs, 217 passes. I don't know any of the top teams that have that kind of balance. That's what you're shooting for. They've got a tremendous back, and that takes a lot of pressure off the offensive line. And they are playing just exceptional offensive football right now.
I would agree with you, Coach. I think what it's, Daniel Jones has shined light on the fact that this is an O-line, D-line driven program. And now he's starting to make some of these big guys shine, like Bortolini, excuse me, the center has really looked good. Quentin Nelson, the left guard right now, is the top left guard in the NFL. He's just a dominant force. The tackles, really all 5 guys have been productive on the offensive line. And when you have that quarterback play to take a Daniel Jones who's been hit so many times in his career with the New York Giants, and now to see him flourish, it's pretty cool to see.
It is. And Coach Steichen has done a great job because he's keeping defenses off balance. You can't just tee off and go after Daniel Jones because they're running the ball as much as they're throwing it. And you've got this very, very good running back in Jonathan Taylor that you have to defend. Well, now when I go play action or bootleg, now I can get my quarterback really feeling comfortable that pressure is not on him. They've got a lot of different weapons. Tyler Warren has been amazing as a tight end, doing things in the middle of the field, and they're using everyone. So it's just been a masterful job of offense, 33 points a game, and man, they're playing good football.
Your biggest concern right now with the Colts would be what, if there was one?
Is their secondary. Lou Anarumo, we've talked about him, what a job he's done on defense, but they have lost corner after corner after corner. They brought Xavier Howard in thinking that was going to be a Band-Aid. He ends up retiring because he can't do the job. They've just had these injuries, but they're masking it right now because their offense is playing so well and Lou is dialing up all these things. But you get down the road against the real good teams, that could be a problem if these guys don't get healthy for them.
Yep. So that's the high. Let's get to a low of week 7, and that would be the Giants. The Giants, 26-8. They're in complete control over Denver. Denver's a good team. You're thinking the Giants going to win this game. They're going to be right in the thick of it in the NFC. This could be a playoff team with Jackson Dart now, and it just falls apart in the final 5 minutes. How did that happen, Coach, from your perspective?
Well, it shouldn't happen. You get these type of leads, you've got to carry it through. I think it comes down to offensive and defensive philosophy and not making mistakes. And Jack, we lost one game in my entire career as a head coach where we had a 14-point lead. And I think that is because I was always taught situational football. You talk to your team about it, you practice it. When we're ahead in the 4th quarter, things have to change. You slow the tempo down on offense. You use the 40-second clock. You don't run out of bounds. You don't throw incomplete passes. You tell your quarterback it might be better to take a sack than throw an incomplete pass now because we want those 40 seconds to run off the clock. Defensively, we've got to tackle them in bounds, make them go the long route, don't give up big plays. That's what you talk about, and that's what you practice. Well, I look at this game, and everybody's going to blame the field goal kicker because he missed 2 extra points. Well, that can't happen either. But it was 26-16. They're up 10 points, Denver, in the fourth quarter with just a little bit of time left. They had a drive where they took 26 seconds and threw an interception. And that just can't happen. The next time they get the ball back, they take 1:09 and punt the ball. So you had 2 series where you used less than 2 minutes that you should use 5 or 6 minutes, and then you lose in the last 20 seconds. It just doesn't compute. Brian Dable, you've got to take more time off the clock on those 2 series.
Mm-hmm. If you're coaching Jackson Dart coming out of this game, the biggest coaching point would be what?
Hey, you're going to have a million of these situations. We're going to have 14-point leads going forward. Okay, we know what we can't do now. We're going to learn from this and grow. This is that one that happens, and you got to put it behind you. Don't let it get to you. I know he's sick about that interception. That really started things steamrolling, but he'll learn. Now, I'm ahead in games. We're under control. It's maybe even better to take a sack in that situation than throw an interception. We could have taken 45 more seconds off the clock and punted the ball 50 yards downfield. That is huge in a game like that. So he'll learn from it.
He will. And I still think this Giants team, maybe more than any team that we've been watching, is this close. I mean, I think they are that close to being a good football team. I mean, Denver's really good. They should have beat Denver.
Yeah.
And we'd be sitting here right now talking about
the
Giants are real.
Look out for the Giants. They're for real. And we saw Brian Burns. We saw the clip of him in the tunnel going in. And I had to sympathize with him because I just thought back, if I'm coaching Warren Sapp and we've got a lead, and I tell him we're only rushing 3 guys, I don't know what he would do to me. He's going to say, no, coach, we are not doing that. You got to turn us loose. Tell those defense backs to stay back. We're going to make this guy throw fast, come up and make the tackle. The game's going to be over. And so those are the things. But when you're not used to playing with a lead, you don't practice those situations as much.
Right. I hope they exercise a little patience here and let them coach this thing out, because we forget this is without Malik Neighbors, their best offensive player, that they have made this. The offense have some energy, some life, some juice. The line looked so bad prior, and now he's making those guys look better just with almost his Joe Burrow-like ability to maneuver and move within the pocket and some of his athleticism to scramble. The whole offense just looks and feels different with most of the same players minus Neighbors, Coach.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this game should have been a high. We should be talking about this as a high, and just for 3 or 4 minute breakdown, it becomes a low. But they can learn from it and they can grow from it.
Yeah, I'm curious, real quick, on the Sapp point that you made, because the D line is a whole nother scenario here. Like, as a head coach, how much would you listen to key players when they were voicing that kind of frustration?
Oh, you definitely listen to them, and you listen to them before the game or before the situation happens. Brian Burns complained about it afterwards, and I get it. Warren Sapp would have been, when we send the defense in, he would have been, no, we're not doing that. Send us, coach. And I would have said, yeah, you're right. Let's go after him.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes you a great coach. Let's get down to the Chiefs. Speaking of great coaches, Andy Reid has flipped this thing around from 0-2 to now Rashee Rice coming back, catching a couple of touchdowns, looking like the best offense in the league, and they just crushed Vegas. Is this the best team right now? The high of the Chiefs? What are you seeing?
I'll tell you what, we saw them against Detroit, and we thought, okay, well, they put it together and they beat Detroit. And then when I saw what Detroit did to Tampa, now you have to really look at that Kansas City game and say, wow, maybe the Chiefs are back. And I'm like you, I have to credit Andy Reid a lot. The 0-2, losing to Jacksonville, no panic. We're going to be okay. Keep building. Let's just play Chiefs ball. We're going to work these young receivers. Now, when we get Rice back, we're going to be that much better. Well, now, and they've got an arsenal that is like it was before. And that offensive line, we mentioned this, Jack, they are playing. They're not a dominant offensive line, But in the past, it was always, oh gosh, this guy's terrible, and the left tackle can't do this, and they can't protect Mahomes. They can't run. Well, now they've got running game, they've got protection. People have to play man to man against all these guys, or Mahomes is going to carve them up. And then when you play man, now that gives him the avenues to take off and run, and it's a headache. It is a headache.
It really is. And I look at the Jalen Moore. They broke off that money to him before the year. They obviously used the first round pick on Josh Simmons. And this is a strange situation where, he left the team and it surprised him a little bit. And he's got whatever he has going on. Hopefully they get him back. But Jawan Taylor was the big concern at right tackle. And you're thinking now they're going to have a 2-tackle problem. But for Moore to come in and solidify that left side in the way that he has, it's been season changing for them.
It really has. It gives them the confidence that we can do what we always do. And our line is back in shape. The 3 interior guys are very good. We knew that. We thought the problems would be outside. Well, now when you don't have to worry about that and you let Mahomes be Mahomes, and now he's got his weaponry back, and some of these young guys, Tyquan Thornton and Smith and Noah Gray, you get them as complementary players. They don't have to carry the load because Rice is back, and now Hollywood Brown and Worthy is back healthy. Now, man, you've got all these options, and they're playing in rhythm. Last year and the first part of this year is, if they're going to get a big play, it's got to be Mahomes just making something happen and scramble. Well, now the big plays are coming as part of the natural flow, and they're playing with great confidence.
They are. I go back to what GM Brett Veach said. This was the Giants game. They were, they're trying to avoid going 0-3. And he, all the talk around the league was they need to trade for Tirico Hill and they need to bring in another receiver. And he was just, let's be calm here. We got to survive a couple games early. We understand the situation that we're in, but Worthy's going to come back. Rashee Rice is going to come back. And the way that they not only survived, but developed the depth, like you said, with Thornton and Juju Smith-Schuster. Who would have thought he'd be giving them these kind of minutes? And now Worthy comes back and Rice comes back. And Rice is obviously their best player as it relates to being a pass catcher in this offense. But I think the depth that they were able to put together over that stretch run without him is what makes them a very real Super Bowl team in 2025 to me.
It really does. And just they found what these guys can do. Okay, Juju, he's going to catch the ball over the middle. He's going to run after the catch. Thornton can stretch the defense. He can make big plays when we want to take a shot. And everybody else has kind of found their role. And they know what they can do now. So they're going to be a tough team to deal with. And I was impressed with that win over Detroit. But then after last week, I'm even more impressed because they took some things away from the Detroit offense. They attacked the defense that we know can play, and man, that was a confidence builder for them.
Yeah, I think it was. And now if they get Josh Simmons back from his personal situation that he's got going on, now you have 3 tackles. You can think about putting more, maybe even at right tackle, or Simmons at right tackle some. And you know how the NFL goes. You're probably going to use all 3 of those tackles regardless because injuries occur as the season goes. But to have 3 tackles for a team that had tackle issues coming into the season, what an upgrade.
You're right. You have to give Brett Veach and Andy Reid their props. Hey, we had a problem. We fixed it. And we fixed it with a draft choice and spending money in free agency. And we are better now. That's not a problem area now.
Best team in the AFC coming out of week 7. If I gave you the Colts and the Chiefs, where would you lean?
I still want to see the Colts beat some quality teams. I'm worried about that secondary, the injuries. Colts are playing excellent offense, but right now the Chiefs are playing very good offense and very good defense. So I'd lean to and that championship mentality too, that DNA. So I'd still lean a little bit towards the Colts right now, I think.
Towards the Colts or towards the Chiefs?
Just towards the Colts a little bit. Yeah. But I wouldn't be putting my house on it.
I got you. Okay, you take the Colts coming out of week 7. I'm going to take the Chiefs coming out of week 7, just based on what we've seen these last 2 weeks. Andy Reid and Spags in a playoff type environment. Still give me those 2. Let's get to the low here, Coach. The Jets and the Dolphins just continuing to flounder here. Let's start with the Jets. They're 29th in total offense. They're 32nd in passing offense. There's been a lot of talk about the quarterback position. What's your take right now on the Jets?
Well, that has been the thing that's hindered them most, the quarterback productivity. They just haven't gotten it, so that can be tough. But I would say to Jets fans, please be a little bit patient. In
Mm,
the first year, this can happen. Um,
yep.
Aaron Glenn comes in. He's got a way that he wants to play. He's got to find the players who can do that. They've got to buy in. And sometimes that takes time. And I'm just going to go through a couple. We were in San Francisco this past weekend, and I relayed the story of I played on Bill Walsh's first team. We were 0-7, trying to get the feel of what Coach Walsh wanted to do. He stuck with it. He never lost his sight, his vision of what we were going to be. But it was ugly the first half of the season. I was 1-8 with the Bucks my first year. Let me give you some more. Chuck Noll 1-13. Tom Landry 0-11-1. Joe Gibbs started out 0-5. Jimmy Johnson 1-15. So these are great coaches. There's about 16 Super Bowls in there. And everybody
Hmm.
was going through the same thing that the Jets were right now. And people are saying, gosh, is this going to work? Is this guy really any good? Well, it's a matter of getting your philosophy and the players to fit together. And sometimes that takes a little time. So I'm not down on Aaron Glenn yet. And I think the Jets, if they're a quarterback away, obviously, but they've still got to work out some other things. Now, Miami, on the other hand, when you're in year 3 or year 4, it should not look like this.
Right. And I just a more recent example, Dan Campbell. I mean, that was not a fast start,
Yes.
and
Oh,
Aaron
yes.
Glenn was
Yes.
there, saw it. He knows what
Yeah.
it looks like. I'm curious when you're in the fog of that and it's not going good, and you're over, you have one win, you're over 7, 8, whatever it is. What tells you that the message is getting through? What do you see where you go, this is still moving in the right direction?
It's how the guys are approaching it. How are they intense in the meetings? Are they taking good notes? Are they practicing hard? Do they have that? You can sense when guys are there with you and when they aren't. And I think as an organization, an owner, if you're around, you can see that too. What is the attitude like? And that attitude can be great even if you're losing games. And then we've got a chance. Now, if everybody's down and moping around and there's nothing happening, there's no energy in the building, then that can be an issue. But hopefully that's the case. That's what you got to do. And then you got to have the conviction to stick with your guns. I was 0-5. We had a bye. And Dick Vermeil called me and said, hey, I've watched your teams. He was broadcasting at the time. You're getting close. Don't get discouraged. So I did the same thing. I called Aaron Glenn 2 weeks ago and I said, hey, don't get discouraged. You're building for the future. Keep your head up. Keep doing what you believe in. And he said, thank you. And it hasn't generated any wins yet, but hopefully he does that.
But it will. And I think they'll be probably the most aggressive team as it relates to the quarterback market once we get into
Yes.
that part of this NFL calendar and free agency and the draft. They're going to be one of those teams that's going to be aggressive. And then that year 2, year 3, you'll be able to really judge them. Miami, as you mentioned, coach, it's a different scenario. 27th in total offense. They have their quarterback. They have what's supposed to be a coach that can whisper to the quarterbacks. They're 27th in passing offense, only 186 yards per game. What's up with Miami right now? How do you see this one?
you know this should not happen. As you say, this team is built to play offense, and they haven't done it well. And it's year 3, year 4. They should be in a groove. But the thing that really would bother me if I'm an owner is what came out of that Tua press conference. And we can criticize him for saying it and going public with it, but obviously it was happening. And I think he did it more out of frustration with his coaching staff. He doesn't want to throw his players under the bus, but hey, we're not on board. We're not on point. We're not hustling. We're not taking care of the little things. We're not on time for meetings. And the quarterback shouldn't have to say that in a press conference. And maybe he shouldn't have said it. Maybe he should have kept it inside. But if this is not getting through, why not? What's the problem? Why is this happening? And I think that's where they are right now.
Yeah, sometimes it gets, in my opinion, difficult for a quarterback when maybe you're not getting the enforcement of certain things like that from the head
Absolutely.
coach.
Yes.
And for McDaniel, it's all good and it's all cool when you're winning and he can kind of do this hip, cool guy routine. But who are you when you're losing and when
Yeah.
things are bad? Because that's when you really need a leader. And to me, that's where Miami is. And I don't know what the head coach is giving them in that department.
Yeah, I agree, and that's where you've got to have it. And even when you aren't winning games, you're doing things the right way, and then you believe, and your players believe, well, it's going to come around because we're doing things right. Eventually, it's going to happen. But if your players are sitting there and saying, "Hey, we're not executing, we're making mental mistakes, we're not on top of the details, and this guy is not here, and this guy was a little late, and this guy was off, and this guy lined up wrong and didn't get corrected," then you think, how are we going to fix this? And that's when you start to lose people.
Yeah, it seems to be that's where they are as it sits. Let's get to real deal or fool's gold segment
Mm.
2 of the FNIA podcast here, and it begins with Joe Flacco. Where else would it go? Joe Flacco, he turns back the clock. Thursday night football. This against the Steelers for the win. Woo, what a game, coach. I was there in the stands, the whole thing. Real deal or fool's gold to you?
Well, it was the real deal Thursday night, and I have to say I was wrong because when they signed, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. This is a mistake. You're putting an immobile guy behind a bad offensive line. This can't work out. Mike Tomlin said, "Hey, I don't know what Cleveland was thinking. They made a terrible mistake. They helped our opponents, and I was wrong, and Tomlin was right." Joe Flacco, that performance, he masked all the problems with the offensive line. The bad protection was still there, but he was so decisive with the ball. I can get it to my weapons, my great weapons, before the pass rush can be effective. We start throwing the ball well. Now we can run it, and they had Pittsburgh just flustered totally, and it was all Joe Flacco. Now, can he do it again? Maybe that's where this is a little bit of fool's gold. We saw him do this with Cleveland. We saw him do it with Indianapolis, and it didn't end up great. We'll see
Right.
how it goes down the road. But for one night, man, it looked fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the only difference I would say between this one and those examples is he doesn't have to necessarily do this through the
Yeah.
end of the season or into the playoffs. If he can get them 3 or 4 wins over this stretch, which based on Thursday night seems plausible to me, they get to mid-December and Joe Burrow comes back. And everything I keep hearing is that Joe Burrow, it's not like a maybe, should I, could I? It's like I'm coming back, as you'd expect from Joe Burrow. And so if Flacco can stabilize the ship here, I mean, I was impressed, coach, and I want your take on this. His ability to make the offensive line look so much better with his intelligence and with just, I'm not getting hit, I'm getting this thing out
Yes. Yeah.
and getting this into Jamar Chase's hands.
Yeah. I I know I have receivers who can get open, and I'm not going to have to take time to read the coverage and figure out who it is. I'm smart enough. If the double's on Chase, I'm going to T. Higgins. If
Right.
Chase is one-on-one, I'm going to him. And I'm making my mind up just like that. And I'm throwing the football. And he gave Pittsburgh a lot of problems. He gave that offense confidence. And he made them look like a good team. And you're right. If he can just hold the fort, if they can be in it in December when Joe gets back, they can make some noise. And the way I see the NFL, it's not going to be a dominant team. Pittsburgh isn't going to run away from them
Right.
and just be so far out in front that it won't matter. So I think Cincinnati's in good shape right now.
Yeah, I think they are too. And one of those moments that where I knew what Mike Tomlin was talking about was when they came out and they double teamed the double bracket on T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. He walks up to the line of scrimmage and in the blink of an eye recognizes it and hits the big deep ball down the
Yeah,
middle of the field.
yeah,
And that's the stuff they're not getting with Jake Browning that they're getting with Joe Flacco. And Mike Tomlin, I swear to you, coach, when he said what he said in the press conference, all of a sudden, the city of Cincinnati, the 859, the 513, everybody said, wait, we might have a quarterback here. It was Mike Tomlin that solidified the belief in our quarterback now.
yeah. And Joe then justified that. And
Yep.
it's amazing. All it takes is a little bit of belief and a
Mm.
little bit of we've got it. And now you take a team that thought, oh, we can't get this done, to now we can do it. Let's go. And it looked like a different team out there.
Yeah, it did. And that was a game too where you had, Aaron Rodgers looking like retro Aaron Rodgers. And we can get into that in a second because we're going to talk about the Sunday night football game. But let's get to the Eagles offense. They come to life against the Vikings. So, coach, is this real? Is this fool's gold in your mind's eye?
I'm not sure. I love the production they got from those two wide receivers, and this is the way it should happen. Okay, teams come in, they're going to take away Saquon. Okay, now receivers, you're going to get the opportunity, and they took advantage of it. 300 plus yards by those two guys, but I still think I don't know if Philadelphia is going to win games consistently with Saquon Barkley getting 40 yards. I just don't know. If somehow the Minnesota defense says, okay, we're going to play the same way, but we're going to keep those balls in front of us. So now you get 150 yards on those 17 targets as opposed to 300. Where is the offense now? And I like the way those two receivers played. I like Jalen Hurts getting the ball to him, but still, if I'm in that Philadelphia building, we've got to run better than this. We've got a great back. We've got a great offensive line. We can't have 45, 50 yards a game rushing. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm curious how Philadelphia can get to a place from a play calling perspective where they're not living in fear of the commentary from within their own locker room. You know, where if Saquon has a 25 carry game and 200 yards, that they're not living in fear of AJ talking to the media and creating a firestorm during the week. Because it just feels like this teeter totter yin and yang that occurs. I don't know how you get away from that, Coach.
Yeah, and that the receivers came through and they made the big plays, and that's great. But what would this have been if they hadn't? If they don't get the pick six and they don't get those deep balls, and somehow you lose this game by a couple of points, we'd be saying the same thing. What is this offense all about? Why are you throwing the ball like this? Why can't you get Saquon going? And I think they've got to make a commitment to the second half of the year. We've got to be a running football team if we want to win in December and January.
Yeah, I'm with you. To me, that's when it's going to be real. I worry with Philadelphia, they don't have quite as much championship depth as we saw last year. Now, they can develop that with some of these young guys as the year goes on. It doesn't feel quite as dominant to me, but I don't know that it has to be quite as dominant with what we're seeing around the NFL. They just really need to be able to beat teams like the Bucks and the Rams
Yeah,
and the Lions. And, they've proven an ability to do that. Do you feel
but they
like
can
they'll be
do
able to
that.
do it again this year?
No, they can do it. There's no question about it, and they can have games like this. The question is, though, you get in the playoffs and you got to win 3 or 4 in a row. Can you do it consistently against good people?
Yep, fair enough. All right, the NFC West. Is this the best division in football, real or fool's gold?
I really think it is. When you look at it, they've got good coaching, they've got good quarterback play, balanced teams, and there's something about the championship DNA. And I love what Seattle is doing. Mike McDonald has brought some just fire to that defense, and he's put it together. They're a problem when you have to go up against that front four. And Clint Kubiak, very, very quietly, they made a change at offensive coordinator last year. Kubiak has come in with the kind of off the Shanahan tree, that philosophy that we're going to be tough, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to go play action passes. They went from an all shotgun team with Geno Smith to we're going to pound you and take our shots with Sam Darnold, and it's been pretty impressive. But we were in San Francisco, and all the injuries that they've had, they're now playing good football, 5-2. The Rams are probably, that block kick in Philly from being talked about as maybe they're the best team in football. And then you've got Arizona, who's got a poor record, but every game comes down to the last play of the game, and they seem to find a way to lose it. But they're a tough out too. So this is a good, well-balanced, tough, physical division.
So who would it be between for you? Would it be the AFC West? Would it be the NFC North with what the Bears have become? Green Bay still in the mix, Detroit in the mix. Like who would be the second best division that you'd have to weigh out in your mind?
I still kind of think the AFC West, if the Chargers can get their offensive line back in shape. When they had those guys healthy, they were a team that nobody wanted to play. We know what Kansas City is. Denver is a couple of plays away from being, talked about as one of the best teams in football. And they've got Sean Payton, and Bo Nix is playing well. So I think that conference or that division is balanced as well. Those two West divisions, I think maybe might have our Super Bowl teams.
You may be right. I got to say, I'm going to go real on this one too. Just with what I keep seeing out of Seattle is what's putting me over the top on the NFC West right now. I like how they play defense. I like their D line. I like their secondary. I really like what you're seeing from Sam Darnold, and more in particular, how they're running the football. Every time I turn it on, whether it's a Thursday game, Sunday game,
Yeah.
Zach Charbonnet in this ground game, just blowing people off the line of scrimmage. That to me with Sam Darnold is something you can win with, not only in the regular season, but into the postseason too.
Yeah, that's the mentality Clint Kubiak has brought. I saw them in training camp and they were practicing that way. We've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage on offense. And then defensively, you're right. Their front seven is really dynamic. And the last 2 weeks, they haven't had their starting secondary at all. And they've shut people down just because of how good they are up front.
Yeah, they have. All right, well, let's go around the league here. Segment number 3 on the FNIA podcast as we roll along, Coach. Have the Lions found their footing? We talked about it briefly. Have they found their footing to you?
Well, they have, I believe, and I was there talking to Dan Campbell before our Kansas City game, and he told me two things. He said, everything with us starts up front with our run offense and our offensive line. And defensively, man to man is our DNA. We want to be dogs. We want to come after you. And so I picked them against Kansas City, and we didn't see that. we
Yeah.
didn't see that offensive line dominate, and they were worried about their injuries, so they played a lot of zone. Well, this past Monday night, they got back to that. That offensive line came off in force. Gibbs had the big game. They played man-to-man against some good Tampa receivers. They rushed the passer, and they harassed Baker Mayfield, and that was the Lions' formula. And so I think they kind of said, hey, we played one game where we kind of got away from that. We're back to it. This is who we are, and I think this is what we're going to see from the Lions down the stretch.
They are. I mean, I was amazed by watching those, Robertson and some of the backups in that secondary get an opportunity and just flash. But this Jahmyr Gibbs to me continues to be one of the just rising stars in the NFL. You give him the football and he can score. And it's sometimes it's a play that another running back would get 8 yards on and he gets 80. He is a different kind of guy that they have in that backfield.
He really is, and I think they recognize that. Everybody in Detroit, the fans are kind of saying, oh, Montgomery, we're not giving him enough carries. It used to be 50-50. But I don't know how you take Jahmyr Gibbs off the field and how you don't give him the ball when he can go 80 anytime he touches it. He's tough. He's physical. He runs hard. He can get you the tough yards. He catches the ball, and he's dynamic that way. That's not a guy I want to take off the field, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. And when they get Decker coming back at left tackle, all of a sudden they're going to have 5 across the board. Glasgow at center starting to get repped out a little bit in there for Ragnow. Mahogany at the left guard spot having a good year. Sewell has been outstanding at right tackle. And now with Decker getting back in that lineup, this could get back to that dominant force, that dominant 5 that we've been used to seeing. And that could be game-changing, Coach.
And that's what they need. And Rodney, when we had them, that's the point he made. Well, they're not as dominant with those 5 guys as they were in the past. And that's true. Injuries and losing your starting center, who was the hub of everything and the communicator, and getting those young guards. So they have been a little up and down. But the more they play together, the better they're going to be. And when Decker gets back to make this a full unit, yeah, and they've got swag too. Now they believe they can come off on you, and they're going to be tough down the stretch, no doubt, no doubt.
Campbell's been great defensively in the middle of that defense, playing linebacker. Hutchinson off the edge, Muhammad off the other edge, and so who knows? Brian Branch at the safety position once he gets back, but this could be the same kind of thing like Kansas City, where they develop the depth earlier in the season within that secondary, then they get healthier. And then this defense is looking like something. This happened earlier than it did last year. Last year, they got beat up in the secondary late. Now it's happened earlier. Maybe it'll benefit them down the line. Possible?
I think you're right. I absolutely do.
Okay, I like that. Let's get to the Cowboys. Cowboys right now, and the Bills, really, can they make up for the defensive struggles just by scoring points?
Yeah, I'm a guy who thinks defense wins championships for you, and I'm concerned about these two teams. But Dallas is really playing a little bit under the radar because they don't have that dominant record right now. But this offense is playing as well as anybody in football. They got CD Lamb back last week. He makes a difference, injects some energy in there. They're running the football well. Dak Prescott's playing great. But their defense is giving up more yards than they're earning on offense, which is hard to believe because the offense is playing lights out. I believe Matt Eberflus is still learning this personnel, and he's trying to figure out what the defense can do well. I think they'll play a little bit better in the second half of the year, and if that's the case, watch out for them. But the offense is going to have to carry it for a while. Same thing with Buffalo. They're playing as well as you can play. They can move the football on anybody. They've got the big play guy and Josh Allen. But this defense, when you run right at them, yards per carry, right up inside the tackles, has got to be at the lower part of the league. We saw it opening night with Derrick Henry. I don't know in the playoffs if you can survive that way. You're going to run into a Bijan Robinson or a Derrick Henry that you're going to have to stop. And if you can't do that in December, January, it can come back to haunt you.
How much of this is just when you pay a quarterback $60 million and the Cowboys, they're paying a receiver another boatload of money. Just when you start paying that kind of money to where you just run out of resources to pay defensive guys too. Is that part of this, or how do you view their defensive struggles?
It is part of it. And I'll tell you, Jack, when I went to Indianapolis, Bill Polian was the general manager, and he told me that's one of the reasons we want to hire you, because you play young guys on defense. We know we're going to have to pay Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Dallas Clark and Edgerrin James. We're going to spend our money on offense. So we're going to have to draft young guys, get them in the lineup, and get them. We can't have an expensive veteran defensive team. We just can't. So you do have to play a little differently. You've got to get energetic guys and fast guys and swarm and just hold the fort down. And you can win that way. We did it, and it can be done. And I think that's what both of these teams are trying to do, Dallas and Buffalo. We're going to lose our top big name guys because we can't afford to pay them what the market is going to pay them because of what we have to do with our offensive personnel.
If Dallas had paid Micah Parsons, how much better is this defense to you?
Oh, it would be better. And, the energy and especially the way they're scoring now, I think I would have to almost rethink that one. If I knew my offense was going to play this well and we're going to put up these kind of points and people were going to have to throw the ball to beat us, maybe I want that pass rusher to close the games out at the end. So, I didn't know their offense was going to play this well, but Brian Schottenheimer has done a really, really good job putting this together.
And we're going into week 8, and I understand that things could go sideways at any moment. But right now, George Pickens looks like he is the transaction of the offseason. The way that they've brought him in there, and I haven't heard much, if any, real personality issues. But the way he's been playing on the field, it's sensational right now for Dallas.
Yeah. Brian told me that when I was down there opening day. He said, we heard all the horror stories about George Pickens, but we haven't seen that at all. He's come in here, he's worked, he wants to do it. CD Lamb and he kind of got together, and he's followed CD, and CD's helped him, I believe. And he is making plays for them, and he's got this connection with the quarterback now. So at least for this year, it's been smooth and it's been good. And Pickens is making the plays for them. He is one of the reasons why they're a dominant defense, because you've got to account for him. Why they're a dominant offense, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of maturing that happens through your 20s, and we've all been through it. There's a big difference between 22 and 24 and 25, and sometimes what you need is a mentor. So, they're the first right now in total offense is Dallas. Third is Buffalo. Cowboys last in total defense. Buffalo 31st in rush defense. So that's what that group looks like. We'll see how it unfolds as we go along. Any final thoughts on these two, Coach?
Well, I think offense can carry you, but I always look at that when you get to December and January, those big games and you cold weather places, and you've got to be able to stop people and play physical football, then it can change a little bit. But for right now, I think these offenses can get these two teams to the playoffs.
Long year, a lot of time to develop some defense. Let's get to the Texans. The Texans defense, can they make up for the offensive struggles? So this is kind of the opposite question.
Yeah.
Fourth in total defense is Houston right now, and 23rd in total offense.
And we did not expect to see this. I think after CJ Stroud's first year, we're thinking, hey, this is the next high level quarterback, and he's just going to continue to perform. But injuries, he's lost some of his receivers. Stephon Diggs is not there now. Joe Mixon not being there, to me, takes a lot away from that offense. And the offensive line has not been great in the whole time he's been there. Well, now you don't have the running game. It's throw, 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 and that line can't hold up. Receivers not quite as dominant, and they just have just not played good offensive football. The defense is lights out. Defense is going to have to carry them, and that's what they have to do in those defensive meeting rooms and say, you know what, for now, we've got to set the tone. We've got to get the ball for them in scoring position. We've got to get takeaways, change the field position. We've got to win some games until they get it going.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for CJ Stroud right now. He's going through some of those same struggles we saw with Daniel Jones and we saw with Sam Darnold going back.
Yes.
It's like you just got to hang in there and survive. The left side of that offensive line has really struggled. Ursery at left tackle, Tomlinson at left guard, the center and Andrews has struggled. Ingram at right guard has been better. Howard at right tackle has been slightly better, but the left side has really been an issue for that group. And you look at their defensive line, it may be the best defensive line in the league with Hunter and Rankins and Settle, and Anderson Jr. has been just a phenom. I mean, it's just kind of a tale of two lines: bad on O-line, really great on D-line.
And you talk about the defensive line. Imagine if they were playing with leads and they're playing in the fourth quarter where you had to throw. I mean, nobody wants that. So I take my hat off to them. They've got to somehow get a little more balance on offense. We talked about Indianapolis and Daniel Jones. Well, when you've got the running game and you can run on 1st and 10, if it's 2nd and 8, you might run the ball. You can't just pin your ears back and dial up all these exotic things and pass rush stunts because Jonathan Taylor may run at you. Well, Houston is missing that now. It's all on CJ. It's all on the passing, and people are just teeing off on that line, and it's hard for them. So somehow they've got to get some more balance, and that'll help them. But I don't know where the run game comes from.
Yeah, he was taking some hits this past week. That was a little tough to watch with him. Sunday Night Football. Let's get to this. The 4-1-1 because of that tie with the Cowboys. Green Bay Packers against the Steelers, who are now 4-2 coming off the loss to the Bengals. Rodgers' first crack at going back against his old squad and the Green Bay Packers. He gets to do it at home in front of this Pittsburgh crowd. Opening take on this, Coach. What's running through your mind?
Well, first of all, you're going to hear all week, it's just another game. It's just another game. Trust me, it's not just another game for Aaron. He is going to want to put on a show for these guys. I really think, I mean, you've got two quarterbacks who are playing outstanding football, but the key people on the field are the pass rushers. Both of these units, they're 18, 20 sack units right now. They've got dominant edge rushers. And how are you going to neutralize that? For Aaron, it's getting rid of the ball quickly. That's what he does. I think on the other side, for Jordan Love, we've got to neutralize those pass rushers with Josh Jacobs and the run game. Pittsburgh has struggled to stop the run, slow them down by running the ball at them. Who can do the best job of protecting their quarterback? Because if either one of these quarterbacks gets time, they're going to light things up. And I think that's going to be the key.
I've just been amazed watching Aaron Rodgers this year. It seems like that Achilles has kind of had a year benefit of healing up. And sometimes as an athlete, it just takes you a minute to get the confidence back that it is healthy and that you can still move like that. But I mean, he's been able to show some is it like he's 25? Maybe not, but it's enough to where you can escape and his arm is still so live. You know, they've struggled at tackle a little bit. Their left tackle, perhaps a weakness, so that'll be something to watch going into this game this weekend. But Rodgers still has it, and with DK Metcalf, it's been a sight to see.
It really has, and he is always. Aaron's got that mental part of it, knowing where to go, getting rid of the ball quickly, finding the weakness in the coverage. He can do that. But you're right. What we didn't expect to see was him getting away from the rush, them having design movement plays for him. And he does. He's bringing that to the table. So they're playing very, very good. I thought if they just got competent quarterback play, they'd be a
Great.
good team. Well, they're getting more than the offense is carrying them right now, and it's largely due to Aaron Rodgers.
It is. And Mike Tomlin's breathing confidence into him. I think that relationship between quarterback and head coach, you can feel the respect between those two, can't you? And that's just bleeding onto the field, I feel like.
Absolutely. They have a common bond. They want to win. Aaron wants to be good and justify this whole thing. And he has really helped DK. I think he knows DK's got a chip on his shoulder too. And so he's making conscious effort to get him the ball in the right spots. And it's just been fun to watch their offense.
Hayward's been very productive despite his age. Watt, Highsmith, and so we'll get to see all these guys. Ramsey comes over. He's been a little older. Jamar Chase got after him a little bit.
Not got after him, lit him up.
Lit him up. What were you thinking watching that? What's that matchup in your eyes?
I was surprised. I thought Ramsey would do a little bit better. I mean, you're not going to stop Jamar Chase one-on-one, but you got to make one play in there to be that game-changing play. And Ramsey just couldn't do it, but he'll bounce back. I'm going to make one prediction. I said last week that the running backs were going to determine it. I think Josh Jacobs and Jaylen Warren are going to be a big factor. Whichever one gets going and takes that pressure off their quarterback, that's the team I think is going to win.
It was amazing, Coach. I got to give you props because I'll go back and I'll watch the pregame show after watching the game. And your prediction of this past Sunday night could not have been more to the T, spot on both sides. And you said it's going to be a running back show, but moreover, that this is going to be a downhill. We're used to seeing kind of this outside zone from San Francisco. Downhill, right at them, right at the weakness of Atlanta. How the heck did you know everything that was going to happen?
Well, I have to confess, I had a little bit of inside knowledge. I went to breakfast Sunday morning with Cris, who was my offensive line coach in Tampa. He's now in San Francisco as the O-line coach. And I asked, what's wrong with the running game? And he told me a little bit, the technical stuff. Well, how do you fix it tonight? Atlanta's got a problem stopping people going straight ahead, downhill, double teams. That's what we've got to do. We got to get Christian going. We know Fred Warner is out. We've got to take some pressure off our defense and win the time of possession. So it's going to be more downhill running. He didn't tell me that Kyle told them in the meeting there was going to be 40 runs called in the game, but he kind of gave me an indication.
Yeah. Kyle Shanahan stepping up in front of the group and saying that is pretty cool to me. Like, we don't do this often.
That to be music to the offensive lineman's ears. Oh, we get to run block 40 times. Let's go. And they wanted to prove that they were tougher, and they did.
And they did. Their offensive line and Kittle too. We talked to him after the game, and it was the best thing he could have heard. This was so much fun, Coach. We did 50 minutes. I think I could do another 3 hours and 50 minutes with you just talking ball. Appreciate your time as always. We'll see you in Pittsburgh, one of your about 8 homes around the National Football League.
Yeah, can't wait. I can't wait to get. I got to stay impartial on this one. It's going to be hard for me with my Pittsburgh roots, though.
Good luck, Coach. We'll see you out there. FNIA podcast. We are out. See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.